Hey there, Brandon. I was going to go ahead and cook this chicken and rice dish, so I thought I'd go ahead and videotape it and show you how easy it is. It's really simple, it's cheap. As a matter of fact, you cook this baby up, it's going to be, I don't know, maybe 12 bucks or something for everything, and you can eat on it for like a week. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so here's what I do. Here's what I use. All right, check this plate of chicken here. You get this at Sam's Club. It comes in a pack of 4. These are giant breasts, and it's $4. You can't beat that. I might only use 3 of the breasts in the recipe, depending on how much chicken that I want in there. We'll see. Regular old white rice. I use long grain rice. It seems to work better in something like this. But if you want to go ahead and make up the regular yoshiki rice that you usually use, that's fine too. Any type of rice will work. It just depends on what you like. Basmati is really good. There's tons of different types of rices, but hey, just plain old white rice, the cheapo stuff. Here we have the tomatoes, basically 2 cans of tomatoes. Now in this instance, I'm using a can of stewed tomatoes and a can of diced. Now you can use 2 cans of diced, you can use the whole tomatoes and rip them up. I'm using the can of stewed tomatoes. I bought these at the beginning of the pandemic, never used them before, but I found that they're really nice chunks. You gotta kind of rip them up, but they keep the texture of the tomato, and I kind of like them. But the main thing is here, about 28 ounces of tomatoes, whatever kind you use is fine. And now I've got an 8-ounce can of mushrooms there. Normally, I used to go ahead and cut the mushrooms up and use them, but I find in a dish like this that you're simmering and so forth, canned mushrooms are just fine, and they make the whole thing really easy. And of course, celery and onions. That's what you got. Look at there. I'm going to use 1 onion, and I'm going to use about 6 stalks of celery. All right, well the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by putting the pot on the stove, turning the heat on, and 1 stick of butter. All right, I've trimmed the celery, and now I'm just going to wash it off. I've got the pot going. Now the pot I put on about 4.5 or so medium heat, so the butter is melting, but it's not melting too fast or anything. I usually slice the celery down the middle before I cut it into pieces. The other thing I do is after I've cut it all, I just go ahead and put it in a big bunch and cut it like this. It makes it quick. And I just dump it into the pot as I go. To make the recipe easier, I just use 1 onion. Nice size. If you like more onion, get a bigger one. If you like less, get a smaller one. Alright. Now, I know you know how to cut an onion, but this is how I do it, and the reason I do it is it's really quick, okay? It's really quick, it's easy, it doesn't make a mess. First thing I do is cut the onion in half, and then, see, I get 2 halves, right? And then I cut them, but I hold them together. There you go. Gotta be careful you don't cut your fingers. It seems kind of awkward at first, but then you just turn it around. I find this the easiest way to do it. And then second half. Alright, then the whole thing just goes right into the pot. The celery's been cooking. Celery goes in first, so while you're doing this, it's cooking a little bit. So anyway, so the next thing, this goes right into the pot. Another thing about the way I'm doing this is I'm just using 2 pans. I'm using my pan for the rice and the pan for the pot for the whole rice dish and everything, the Dutch oven. That's it. And so there's hardly any cleanup. Alright, now the onion goes into the Dutch oven. The celery's already in there cooking. the other thing about this, just a few pots. This is pretty much my utensils here. So I hardly get anything dirty at all. Now I'm sauteing this stuff on kind of a low heat. So, you know, I only do it on about 4.5, 5. No more than 5. It takes a while. I've got the 1 stick of butter in there, and I let it saute. I want the onions to be translucent and so forth. I still have a little crunch in my celery because that's how I like it. But it takes a little while. So I'm probably going to saute this for about maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes somewhere, just until it looks right. Okay? So now I'm going to cut up this chicken, and the other stuff, all the stuff is still cooking, okay? Because I got to let it cook, so I've got time to cut up the chicken now. So once again, it makes it really easy and quick. Once you rip the bone out of these breasts, you can cut them up with no problem at all. I go ahead and put my spices in the bowl, measure them like this, and then I can just dump them in the recipe. Makes it easier. In this recipe, you've got about a teaspoon of pepper, half teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, 4 teaspoons of chicken bouillon. Time to dump in the tomatoes and stuff. Since I'm using the sliced stewed tomatoes, I need to scunch them up as I put them in. Scunch, squish, whatever you want. I've gone ahead and taken the liquid out of the mushrooms because of the sodium. Anyway, so now a can of mushrooms. I've added a little something to the recipe, 2 little cans of sauce. Tomato sauce, that is. Here go the spices. I've cut up 3 of the chicken breasts. It seemed to be about enough. And so now I'm just going to dump it all in here. Coincidentally, my rice is done just as it's time to add it. Pretty cool. Here it is, the finished chicken dish. Look at that. It pretty much fills the Dutch oven, and we've got a big Dutch oven. So it took me just under an hour to totally make it, and that is going to be enough to have meals for probably about a week,